Hi everyone, Vincenzo here from CryptoBreaking News. Today I am in Dubai Media City at the Moon Studio where I had the pleasure to sit down with Efe Kelemci, co-founder of CryptoKid and one of the youngest voices in the Bitcoin and macro space. Efe recently spoke at the Bitcoin MENA in Abu Dhabi on the Gen Z Awakening panel, sharing his perspective on financial education, Bitcoin, and how younger generations are approaching money in a very different way. In this conversation, we talk about his personal journey growing up in the UAE, discovering Bitcoin at a very young age, and his outlook on the future of money, crypto, and financial freedom. You can also find the full written interview on cryptobreaking.com. Let's dive in. If you look back at your life before crypto, what was the moment where you realized, okay, this is what I want to do?
Well, before crypto, I didn't have much of a life. I started when I was 12, but I used to be a musical theater and voice actor when I was 7, 8, 9, 10. And I always knew that I wanted to sort of be on stage. I wanted to present. I loved the adrenaline that you get from performing to hundreds of people. So I really liked to perform, and I knew that I would do something in regards to acting or being on stage. But I thought that that could be through musical theater, and that's why I did musical theater professionally. But for me, I realized that it was very, very tough work, and it's okay to work hard. And it was something that I loved, but I just wasn't getting the roles that I deserved. And from a monetary perspective, a lot of my friends that went on to art school or drama school, they were getting auditions and some shows, but they weren't getting paid well. So when I looked at the financial sustainability of it, it was a lot of hard work for little monetary reward. So I knew that I probably would have to start producing on my own and make my own movies if I wanted to make good money from acting and not have to worry about getting roles as well. But that would mean having a business, having an income, having the capability of investing and producing. So while looking for that, and it was also the COVID time, so all of my shows were stopped. I was searching on YouTube things about finance, and I was curious about the stock market and how to potentially invest the $1,000, $2,000 I made from voice acting into the markets. And while looking for videos, I found an analyst by the name of Raoul Pal, and he was talking about Ethereum when it was just $200, $300, and he said that it can go to thousands of dollars. So that immediately took my interest, and I fell into the rabbit hole of cryptocurrency. What are altcoins? What is blockchain? What's Bitcoin? And I figured out that there's something called technical analysis, which you can learn and then use as a skill to trade and predict where markets can potentially go. My issue with school was that I there's a lot of things that they teach you, but the application of those teachings is very low. There isn't an immediate applicable skill that you always learn in school. It's all theory, but you can't really use it. But with technical analysis, it was amazing because I could just learn it, apply it to the charts, and trade and make money. So I spent a lot of time teaching myself TA when I was 12, and I began trading. Almost full time after school when I came back when I was 13. And I was going to conferences. Some of the people that I look up to or was watching at that point for to see their TA and their trades was Carl Moon, Chris MM Crypto, Da Vinci Jeremy, Tone Ways, Crypto Jack. They were the people that I watched, and they were having meetups in Dubai. And I went to the meetups, and I was the youngest person there, and I wanted to learn what they had to say. And actually, there I understood the importance of Bitcoin and how the financial system is a scam and how Bitcoin is going to be the remedy for our broken financial system. And from that point onwards, I started taking profits only in Bitcoin. That was a good turning point. But another major turning point was them talking about crypto YouTube and how you can preach your analysis and your findings to an audience that's super eager to learn. And by making videos, you learn more yourself because you have to research every single day. And obviously, you can monetize it too, which gives you an extra passive income to then invest and buy more Bitcoin to hold for the next 20 years. Me wanting to be on stage and perform, and that theater kid inside of me was like, okay, I want to do this. So I started making my own YouTube videos when I was 14, and this was in December 2021, exactly 4 years ago. And we co-founded the brand of Crypto Kid with Carl Moon, and he's already built an empire in crypto media. with over 2.1 million followers. So it was just incredible to get mentored by him, co-found CryptoKid, and he's been helping me a lot, and it's been a great journey. We now have over 100,000 crypto kids that follow our analysis, our breaking news. And yeah, that's the story of how sort of CryptoKid came to be.
Ah, that's amazing. That's amazing to hear. So you said you started very young, basically at 14.
Mhm.
So when most kids don't even think about money, you know. So what made you curious about how money actually works?
Well, we all sort of we all sort of work for one thing, or we all go to school to be able to get a job or start your business and then end up earning money.
Mhm.
So if money is the ultimate goal in capitalist society, it's a bit strange that in school you're not taught about money. You're not taught on how to do your taxes. You're not taught on the history of money, the background of money. You just have this paper that you earn and you transact with, but nobody questions where it comes from, if it's tied to anything. And that was, I mean, I found that weird. My dad, he's in the corporate sector. He's a CEO of a company, and whilst I was growing up, he always talked to me about economy and what was happening across the world. So I understood business and I understood that context, and that allowed me to ask the right questions. Okay, we are going to school, we end up working, but what is it that we're actually working for? So I went down into the roots of money and I wanted to understand the history behind it and what backs money. And I found that currently nothing backs money. There's a central bank that can just press a button and print trillions into the economy, devaluing it. And guess what? When money devalues, yes, your wages go up, but it doesn't go up at the same pace as inflation. So you end up becoming poorer and poorer and poorer, and only the very rich that has a lot of capital that can invest into assets, they get benefits from asset price inflation, and their net worths go and bubble up. But it's all fake. It's all fugazi because money is losing value real time. So when I understood that, and when I understood central banking and how the Fed came around, I was like, okay, it's broken. What's the answer? Gold and silver? Okay, they seem cool, but they're not fit for a modern world that we live in a technological age. And to me, Bitcoin was just the simple answer. And it was like a aha moment. And I think I'm very lucky that I was able to grasp that early on, because for me, my entire economic habits have changed. I just want to hoard more Bitcoin. I know that the dollar is going to collapse, and I want to secure my future. So yeah, that's how it sort of how the Bitcoin aha moment happened for me.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So you said that Bitcoin really helps people understand what money really is. So why do you think Bitcoin is such a powerful educational tool?
Well,
And yeah,
mhm. I think Bitcoin is amazing in multiple ways, not just for understanding money, but when I was able to study Bitcoin and understand Bitcoin, I immediately got the grasp of political concepts. What is libertarianism? What is conservatism in politics? What is being a Democrat? What is, I was able to understand so many more topics than just money. And to me, it opened my eyes to what's really going on in the world. So I strongly urge kids and parents to teach their kids about Bitcoin and learn it about themselves, because you understand how to look at things in a neutral, libertarian way, where you look at free market principles, free market economics, Austrian economics, not the boom and bust cycles of Keynesian teachings, and it gives you good saving habits to hedge yourself against inflation for the long term with the money you save, and it can make you become financially free at a much earlier age.
yeah, sure. And then if you had to explain Bitcoin to a 16-year-old who has never invested before, where would you start?
A good question. I would probably say, I would probably ask, hey, you know, you go to school. I would sort of get them to come to the answer themselves. But you go to school, you go to work. What is it that you end up working for? They'll say money. Perfect, great. Well, what is money? They're gonna say it's a medium of exchange. It's something that you can use to buy and sell, and it has value. Okay, perfect. What is the history of money? And that's when they'll be like, I don't know. Okay, great. What's the dollar backed by? I don't know. So that's where you trigger the question mark in the brain, And then you say, okay, well, perfect. So it's okay that you don't know, because once you do know, your life is going to change forever. So are you ready to choose the right way, almost in like the Matrix movie? And when they do, they will go in and dive in deep themselves, because I think it's shocking that the money we transact with is backed by absolutely nothing. There's $39 trillion of debts where we can't pay it no matter what we do. And it's a system that will eventually implode. And with Bitcoin being finite and Bitcoin being able to process payments in just a couple of minutes' time, regardless of the day, if it's a bank holiday, a weekend, you can still process payments. Like all of those concepts, I think will be very clear and show them that Bitcoin has a future.
Yeah, so basically maybe they start, researching more about how money works, and
Yeah,
maybe they end up discovering Bitcoin.
exactly,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
the process maybe all of us we're going through basically.
I think so.
Or in
Yeah,
the way to learn Bitcoin, we also had to learn how the system works, and the money system, financial system,
yeah,
banks.
because a lot of people like say that the CEO of Vanguard said that Bitcoin is just a digital labubu, and I was like,
Mm.
how, you know? I think so many people are unaware of the problem, so Bitcoin doesn't stand out as a solution because they don't know that there's a problem. So if you show them the problem first, Bitcoin sort of stands out on its own. You
Mhm.
don't need to provide any extra explanation, and that's why we need to educate on the problem first.
Yeah, that's great. So, do you think Gen Z has a different relationships with money now compared to previous generation? Maybe compared to what our parents, had experienced before.
I think so. And I think so because no matter how revolutionary an idea may seem, the internet seemed like a revolutionary idea to the younger people, but the older generations called it a fad. They did the same for the car. The older generation said, "Hey, why don't we use horses instead? The car doesn't make sense." And they did the same for electricity. So older generations, when you get used to something and you grow up with something your entire life, no matter how factually true the new idea may seem, as it's going to replace what you've been using before, it's just hard to escape propaganda. It's hard to escape teachings that you've been used to for decades in your life. So it takes time to transition. Obviously, younger people are more pragmatic, they're more open to innovation. They can adapt quickly in life because as they grow older, they learn new things and they're all about adapting. Whereas when you get older, you just sort of maintain, and new ideas seem complicated to be learned, and you have that ego in you that you can't teach somebody old new tricks, right? But I think young people are much more open to new ideas. And I think younger people are getting crypto and they're understanding crypto. They're investing in crypto and Bitcoin, but at the end of the day, I still don't believe they understand the core fundamentals of the financial system. And I don't think they know exactly why they're buying Bitcoin. They're buying it because it's cool. And yeah, it's the blockchain. It could be the future, but they don't get fully why it can be the future.
Yeah, maybe because now the world is also going digital, right? So it's easier for them to understand that maybe money is getting even more digital, and
Mhm.
Bitcoin is just the evolution of money in the future. But also gives you like freedom,
Yeah,
financial freedom.
freedom is the key word because you can use stable coins and you can use CBDCs,
Mhm.
but that would mean that everybody knows exactly how much money you have. And that would mean that every single government entity can control exactly what you spend your money on. And God forbid if you believe in a political party that others don't believe in, or you have a specific religion that you believe, or you are part of a specific racial group. Like if people don't like it, they can block you from participating in finance. We have over 1 billion people in the world that are unbanked today because of their beliefs. And
Mhm.
I'm somebody that thinks that no matter what you believe in, no matter who you are, what your background is, you should be able to participate in finance. Because if you can't, then in most cases, if you live in a world of poverty, then you can't escape poverty. You can't become richer. You can't excel in the current capitalist society that we live in. So I believe that everybody should have the right to access banking and money, and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, they enable you to have that freedom.
Yeah, I think it's also going to replace maybe more banks in the future because banks are now obsolete. I mean, they don't work on the weekend, or they take time to send money. With crypto, you can send instantly money to everyone, maybe on the other side of the world, very quickly. So it's changing a lot the way people are going to, use money in the future. So
Correct.
um, and since we are talking about Bitcoin, so maybe many people want to know like your prediction
Sure.
for Bitcoin, for the Bitcoin price,
hmm
maybe for next year, so 2026, since now we are already at the end of 2025. So what's your prediction for next year?
Well, we've been following the Bitcoin 4-year supply and demand cycles perfectly. The last 3 cycles, the amount of days it took for us to reach from the bottom, the very low point of price, to the very high point has been 1,064 days. So the 4-year cycles have been intact. And I think that we're not going to see a massive drop like 2021, even though structurally, when we look at price action, the same double top exists, the same bearish divergences exist. Even though structurally it looks the same, I think we're going to follow 2019 price action compared to 2021 topping price action. Why? Because the monetary policy is completely different. So when we look into monetary policy, next year we're getting quantitative easing. We're getting a new Fed chair that's going to be pro crypto and somebody who will want to follow the Trump monetary policy agenda, which is reducing rates to as low as possible. You have the you have the one big beautiful bill, the Trump accounts. All of these things are inflationary for money. So I think we're going to see a lot of money printing next year. And because we're going to see a lot of money printing, I think it's going to offset a potential huge correction that we experienced in 2021. So I see consolidation. I see Bitcoin potentially dipping into the 65 to 70K range for now, and I think we can consolidate there until Q4. But from Q4 onwards, I think we can start moving up again. And I think altcoins will take the spotlight in 2027. They're more sensitive to liquidity, and we're going to get a lot of liquidity next year.
Okay, that's great. So I think maybe many people were expecting, the cycle, based on the cycle, they were expecting maybe to have a bull run now in 2025, maybe potentially a top now in December, but we are not in this situation. So you think it's because monetary policy is changing, so maybe the cycle is either broken, or maybe, it will be extended, as you said, maybe in 2026, 2027. So it's maybe a super cycle we have. What's your idea on that?
Well, I don't think the cycles are broken. Bitcoin operates in its 4-year supply and demand cycles with the halvings, but altcoins don't share the same supply and demand economics. Every altcoin has a different economy. Bitcoin has its halvings, and that's why it follows the 4 years. And if you look at Bitcoin alone, I mean, Bitcoin went from $15,000 to $126,000. So if you were a Bitcoin investor, you made significant amounts of money. The sad thing is most people are not Bitcoin investors. They're altcoin investors only. And because of that, they don't see what we've been through as a bull market. So where Bitcoin follows the 4-year cycles, altcoins, they follow the business cycles. The business cycles look at liquidity, and the business cycles can be measured by global liquidity and also the ISM manufacturing data. So when we look at the ISM, next year is when the US economy is going to go into an expansion phase. Over the past cycles, the ISM highs and lows, they've been corresponding very well to the Bitcoin 4-year cycle highs and lows. But this cycle, it's different. It's more elongated. Instead of 4 years, it appears to be that it's going to go into a 5-year structure. So because of that, Bitcoin was able to go up, and altcoins, they remained stagnant. So that's why I think the next year altcoins will take a little bit more of a spotlight, specifically going into 2027, because it takes at least 6 to 8 months for freshly created liquidity to jump into markets. And I think that Bitcoin will do fine, but I really like how altcoins look for 2027.
Yeah, that's great because, as I said, because monetary policy is changing, so we have been through all this period with, with the quantitative tightening, and then Bitcoin, hold, and now we are going to quantitative easing,
Yeah.
which means more monetary, more money are coming into the system, which means more liquidity will flow into stocks and crypto as well. So that's why. So probably everything is just pushed forward. So maybe there will be this longer cycle where we maybe see this final bull run maybe next year. As you said, and 2027 as well for altcoins. Many people are maybe expecting for the altcoin season. So this will be later. Um, Now, going back maybe to, your mindset and maybe the location.
Hmm.
So from one side, you grew up in Dubai.
Hmm.
So how much do you think this environment influenced your mindset compared to growing up maybe elsewhere?
I think a lot. I grew up in Dubai, like you said, and I mean, I actually lived in Sharjah for 9 years, which is another Emirate in the United Arab Emirates. And then for the past 8 years, I've been living in Dubai. Um, I'm very grateful that I grew up here because I grew up in a city or cities that have been very pro entrepreneurship, very pro innovation, and everybody's hardworking. Everybody wants to achieve more, and they're very perfectionist in the way that they want to achieve excellence and they want to make sure that they do it. And so is the city, not just its people, but the cities too. They want to become better and better and better and keep on innovating. And growing up in that environment obviously will motivate you to become the best version of yourself and do what you can, compared to living in a place where perhaps the economy isn't doing so well. People feel like they don't have enough opportunities, and that's, in that environment obviously you're not going to want to chase. But I'm so happy that I grew up here and I was able to meet a lot of people that are also like-minded, like the Carls, like the Da Vinci's, etc., that we sort of now work together with. And I'm very happy I grew up here. I think if I grew up in another city, I don't think I would have felt so optimistic about life, and I don't think I would have been so open to new ideas and new concepts. When I first moved to the UAE, it wasn't at the level of development that it was today. I mean, the Dubai Mall was just being built. Burj Khalifa had just opened up. Since the past 17 years, there's been such a huge and amazing drastic change, and it just goes to show that you can improve and you can do a lot in a short period of time, and that relates to crypto in a great way because crypto has only been around for also 17, 18 years. But in that short period of time, it's done wonders, and we've reached trillions of dollars in market cap, and so many people around the world know what it is today. I'm for emerging markets. I'm for emerging economies, and I'm for industries and places that want to keep innovating, want to keep building. And I think crypto and the UAE are a great match for me as a person.
Yeah, it's also Dubai is crypto friendly. So here you can either maybe buy a property in crypto. So they're very friendly. So that's great. I think it played a big role. And then, so what do you think when you think about in the next 5 to 10 years? How do you see your role evolving in this space?
Well, I want to make sure that teenagers and young people understand the the financial system, and we've touched on it multiple times in this interview. I think, I mean, currently my demographic, my audience is between the ages of 25 to 60, right? So I don't really get many young people watching my videos. So I want to make more content that is specifically in line with what young people like to enjoy, and hopefully through that content, perhaps more short form, perhaps more entertainment slash educational contents, we can reach to the younger demographic and show them what's happening across the world and get them to become Bitcoiners. I think that would be a great. I mean, it would be an honor for me to achieve if I can get at least a couple of thousand young people to say, "Hey, hold on a second. I'm about to start working, and I'm about to work for the rest of my life for money. I have no idea what money is, and now I've discovered Bitcoin, so now I can have better saving habits and better economic habits." That's my goal. I think Crypto Kid as a channel will become a more educational channel. It will help more young people. And yeah, maybe when they grow up and in 20, 30 years time, they'll remember the Crypto Kid brand as what allowed them to become financially freer at an earlier age.
Yeah. So what would be your recommendation to young people, maybe to start investing now, start maybe saving in Bitcoin for the future, for their, kind of pension for the future, for you know,
Well,
financial freedom?
I think if you're starting from zero, which I essentially did, it's very important to invest into skills and knowledge. I taught myself technical analysis, and that was me investing my time into learning a new skill, which could potentially make me money. So you need to have knowledge and skill that can directly translate in monetary income. As soon as you've invested into a skill, then the next step is to build a business around it to get that passive income and to monetize it. And with that passive income, if you're able to put a little bit of it every single day into Bitcoin for the next 20 years without selling, in my personal opinion, I think you'll do quite well, because when you look at how much value the dollar is losing and how much Bitcoin is increasing against the dollar, if the same trend continues, then you could have potentially, through only a couple of tens of thousands invested, you can end up with millions of dollars worth in Bitcoin in 20 years' time, which won't equate to today's millions of dollars. The purchasing power would have gone down as significantly, but at least you would have hedged yourself against inflation, protected your capital, maybe made an extra cash on it. And yeah, you'll be more comfortable in your 40s and 50s to focus on things that you truly enjoy doing.
Great, great. So, what does success mean to you today? And how is this different from what you thought it was a few years ago?
A few years ago, I thought it was all about money, about how much money you can have, and all the things that money can buy. But I've realized now that it's about being able to wake up, do something that you enjoy with a team or friends that you enjoy working with, and making money, enough money on the side to live a life that you want to live. And that doesn't mean you need to have tens or hundreds or billions of dollars. No, that life could be something that costs you, let's say, $200,000 a year or maybe 50K a year. It doesn't matter. It depends on what you truly want. And if you can live a life with the people that you enjoy being around, doing something that you love and find purposeful, I find communicating my knowledge and my research to my audience purposeful. And I'm able to take that knowledge and monetize it and make enough to live the way I want to live. So I think that's real success. And obviously, there's health and having a being successful in your health. If you're a healthy person, if you're fit, if you're exercising, successful relationships. There's so many different elements in life that contribute to one big success, and I've not found success in many of those aspects in my life. But from just a business standpoint, I think I'm getting to a place where I'm happy, and that's all I can comment on.
That's great. That's great. So, one last question is, so if you could give one piece of advice to young people who feel lost financially, what would it be?
Don't drown yourself in social media content that make people appear as they're doing insanely well and they're trying to show that off to you. Because every single one of those times, it's just the people that make you feel bad about yourself. That's the intention, right? That's how they gain influence and that's how they gain traction. So don't feel like you need to compete with others, or don't feel as though that this person is younger than me or is almost the same age as me and he's doing or she's doing better. At the start, I kind of was scared that I would, become 19 or 20 years old and I've not done enough, right? That was a worry that I had. And you may say, okay, that's a stupid worry. But I think younger people sort of have that worry more because we live in a globalized environment where whatever everybody's doing is on the table and you can see it. You may feel bad about yourself. So just don't compare yourself. Everybody has their own life and everybody has their own path. So take a unique path, do something that you enjoy. Money isn't everything, it's an enabler. And yes, it can make life more comfortable. But if you can do something that you truly love, which I still want to do acting, I mean, acting is still my passion, then I think you've made it, right? If you have a good family, a loving family, good friends, you do what you love and you make enough, perfect. I don't think you need to compare yourself at all with anyone else.
That's great. That's great. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the interview.
Thank you.